Welcome into the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show, as always presented by Smith's Low Prices and Market Fresh. We come to you live from Kyle's office here at the Eccles Football Building up on campus. You're watching us live tonight, as Brent Musburger once said. You're looking live tonight on the Utah Athletics YouTube channel and live on Twitch tonight around the world. Also listening in on our flagship radio home, ESPN 700. Coming up on the show tonight, we'll have a couple of guests coming in. Orlando Umana will be coming in. Junior center, and a guy that may be starting to emerge as a big-time player out on the edge, Max Toopi, who had a very good game on Saturday night. We'll talk to Max and Orlando coming up on the program, and, of course, we'll talk to Coach as well, a little bit about UCLA, a lot about Arizona, pass out our weekly awards, and a whole lot more just fresh off the practice field on a beautiful day that the weather may be changing on us. I think we're finally going to be losing fall here soon, Kyle, but you guys had another great day to be outside practicing.
Yeah, we did. It was a little chilly at the end, but guys handled it well and very productive, and it was our typical Tuesday routine.
Well, you got to like that. We're going to talk college football playoff poll in a bit as well, but you guys got a nice win over UCLA, a dominating win, 49-3 Saturday night, your sixth consecutive win. A couple of stats out of that game, 14 straight quarters now at home without giving up a touchdown to an opponent. That's a stat you'll like an awful lot. And for the first time since the Emerald Bowl back in 2005, a 300-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher, and a 100-yard receiver. There was a lot to like Saturday night. What did you like best after you went back and watched the tape?
Well, I think just the game itself, I mean, from start to finish, it was outstanding play offensively, defensively. Special teams was not a huge factor. We did okay special teams-wise, but nothing happened either way that was momentum-type changing play. The way we defended the run, I think they ended up with 50 yards total or right in that ballpark. The way we ran the ball offensively, Snoop was out of sight. Our quarterback, Tyler Huntley, his completion percentage, his total yards, another game with 0 interceptions. I mean, the guy is playing as good a football as we could ever hope for.
Well, he's now a Heisman candidate, too. Your media relations department's cranked that up, and I know that you've got to sign off on it ultimately. They're handling the campaign itself, but how does that come about, and are you good with it?
Well, he's still on the Heisman list as far as the guys that are still in the running, and so he's made it through a few cuts, I guess you could say, and you look at his numbers and you compare him to the rest of the guys that are in the hunt, and he's right up there. I mean, his numbers stand right with the best in the country.
The folks from Pro Football Focus did their 12-week rankings of the quarterbacks, all 130. They ranked them 1 through 130 in all of college football today, and they came out with that using all their analytics and their metrics and everything. Tyler braided out as the number 6 quarterback in all of college football, right there with all those other names like Lawrence and Fields and Burrow and all those guys. They're all bunched up there at the top, and Tyler was right there with them.
Doesn't surprise me a bit. And his efficiency rating is 190, which is exceptional. I think there might only be 1 or 2 guys in the country that have better efficiency rating. His QBR, the ESPN metric, is I think he's 5th in the country there, and he's just, like I said, he's playing as well as we could have ever hoped, and he's the leader of this football team.
Well, it was very apparent, too, on Saturday night that the bye week paid some dividends from him. He looked like the guy that we saw early in the season before that leg injury started to bother him. He was really able to do everything that he wanted. And I even made mention to Zach Moss, too. Zach looked fresh on Saturday night. That bye week did him well, too, because he was running with a little bit more of a purpose or maybe a little bit more of a burst than we had seen in recent weeks, too.
Yeah, I think our whole football team is very fresh when you consider that we're in week 11. I think we've done hopefully a good job of managing their workload during the week. The 2 bye weeks certainly helped out. It was the first year I can even remember, maybe the first ever, that we've had 2 bye weeks to work in there, which gives them a break. And they're taking care of their bodies. I mean, they're doing the right things, getting sleep and eating and the hydration, all the stuff you want them to do.
Well, that's all the stuff that you have that staff on board to take care of, and Ernie and his guys are doing a great job for you on that side of things. We mentioned the numbers. Tyler's numbers are terrific, and they aren't those video game touchdown yardage numbers like some of the guys have, but when you dig a little deeper at some of the analytical numbers, he's right there with everybody else. But your defense, on the other hand, has some of those those video game stoppage numbers. And when you look at all those and you rank tops in the Pac-12 and top 3, top 5 in the country, is there one or two of those stats that your defense is putting up right now that really jump out to you, that really make you smile?
Rush defense.
Yeah.
And that's really, when you start talking about the physicality of a football team, the first place you look is how are you running the ball and how are you defending the run, and that gives you a really good idea of where you are in that regard. And we're number 1 in the country against the run, and we've got a great front 6. And they're playing lights-out football.
Yeah, you'll need that again this week. Arizona's got a very good running back.
Sure
and we'll talk about J.J. Taylor a little bit later on. One other note before we kind of dive into our weekly awards and look a little bit at Arizona. The playoff rankings came out today. I'm sure you were made aware out as you wrapped up practice a little while ago. No change in the top 7. You guys stayed right about where you were right now. And I guess I'd ask you, any takeaway, any reaction to what you saw from those numbers?
No, not really. There's still a decent chunk of football left to be played, and all we can concern ourselves about is taking care of our end of the deal and doing our part to stay focused and take things one step at a time. We can't worry about anything beyond that.
Well, that's what Tyler said last week when he met with the media. We can't talk our way into anything. We've got to win our way into some of those things.
Great point. That's exactly right.
That's why he's the leader of your football team.
That's why he's the leader.
He sounds just like you. Sounds like he's been around you for 4 years is what it sounds like. Let's take our first break here on the show tonight. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about our weekly awards and who we pass those out to, a quick look at the Wildcats, and then tell you who's going to be joining us on the program tonight. If you'd like to listen to our broadcast, myself, Scott Mitchell, Tom Hackett on game days, and sync it up with your television broadcast, there's a program to do it now. It's called syncmygame.com. That's syncmygame.com. You go to that on your computer. It syncs our broadcast to the TV broadcast, and you get all Utah and not have to worry about what those national guys are saying. It's called syncmygame.com. We'll take a first time out, come back, and talk a little bit about the weekly awards and the Arizona Wildcats, all right here on the Coaches Show from Learfield, IMG College. better with a crisp Bud Light at your tailgate. Keep it crisp, Utah fans, and please drink responsibly. We welcome you back into the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show Tuesday night here. Utes heading to the desert this weekend. We'll be down in Tucson on Saturday. Later night kicks at 8 o'clock kickoff. So Utah and Arizona will go at 8, and we'll have our network coverage beginning at 6 from Tucson and the University of Arizona on Saturday. We'll talk about the Wildcats in a minute. Going to pass out our weekly awards. Our Team Player of the Week is brought to us by our friends at University of Utah Healthcare and Sports Medicine, 16 convenient neighborhood health centers, and a game plan for your family's health. Who you want to go with this week?
Tough call this week. There were so many outstanding performances. Brant Keithy, his best game as a Ute, well over 100 yards receptions in receiving yards. Tyler Huntley, as we've talked about, was outstanding. Zach Moss was outstanding. But we're going to go with the guy that was not only our MVP on defense in-house, but he was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week, Julian Blackmon.
Julian Blackmon was
outstanding.
He was fantastic.
Yep.
May have been his best game as a Ute. He's played some good ones. 12 tackles. He had the sack and the forced fumble. He had the interception on the jump ball in the end zone. He was seemingly everywhere. And I'll tell you what, Terrell Burgess was awfully good. Both of your safeties were awfully good the other night.
They're as good a pair of safeties we've ever had, and that's a bold statement because we've had some good ones. But they are playing exceptionally well. And anybody that had any question whether or not Julian should be at safety instead of corner, I think that was answered emphatically. We think it's been answered all year long, but that's exactly what we were hoping out of Julian when we made the move, and he's been solid and very, very productive all year, but spectacular this last game.
It seems like we've been saying that now about every other year, best set of safeties, because you had a couple of Ballard and Blair were awfully good last year, but those two guys were fantastic. And by the way, both those guys got invites to the Senior Bowl, and we'll talk a little bit about that later in the program today. So our Team Utah Player of the Week this week is Julian Blackmon for his effort. Then we've got to go with our Subway Sub of the Week. And you had some guys play late, but I thought one guy in particular was worthy of Subway Sub honors, especially considering everything that he went through personally last week. How about Devontae Henry Cole?
Well, you're right on the money. And Devontae, what a great team guy. He's an unselfish, team-first person. Had a tragic loss. His grandfather unexpectedly passed away this past weekend, or before the game last week. And he's just I can't say enough good things about him. And he was very productive in his role on Saturday night and has been a productive back for us ever since he's been here. He's never been in the limelight, never been the number one guy, but he's been patient, and we couldn't ask for more out of what Devontae gives us.
So Devontae will be our Subway Sub of the Week. At Subway, if you buy the footlong of the day, you get chips, 2 cookies, 20-ounce drink, all for free from Subway. That touchdown run, too, was outstanding. He made a couple of guys miss and then turned on the Jets late to get in the end zone.
And those young linemen, I mean, we're ecstatic about those young linemen that we got in the program. We think, as I've said many times, that we had the mother load when we got the last 2 years of those guys, and we got another great group coming in this next fall. And, a couple of them are on missions, but credit those guys and Devontae for making that play happen.
So our player of the week is Julian Blackmon, our Subway Sub of the Week, Devontae Henry Cole. This week's opponent, the Arizona Wildcats, 4-6 overall, 2-5 in Pac-12 play. They've hit some hard times in Tucson. They've lost 5 in a row, including last week on the road at Eugene, 34-6 to the Oregon Ducks. When you put the tape on this week and watched them, what stands out? What's going on right now with Arizona?
Well, the running back is exceptionally tough and hard-nosed. J.J. Taylor, the little back that does not run little. I mean, he's 5'6", 185 pounds, and you can't believe that at that stature he can do the damage that he does running the football, because he runs like a 225-pounder. He's a physical, hard-running kid. And, the quarterback situation is a little unsettled. We got to prepare for both. We know that. They're dramatically different in their style and their approach. And so we got to be ready for both guys. Changed coordinators on defense a couple weeks ago, so they've had little subtle differences, a little more odd front now than before, and some other changes. But you
can't really wholesale change much mid-season with your personnel set and fly. You can't overhaul things, can
you? So just little tweaks here and there. But you're right, they've been streaky. I mean, they got beat in the first game, I believe. It was Hawaii, then ripped off 4 in a row, really nice wins. Had some momentum, then have hit a tough streak here. we got to be ready. They're capable, just like every other team in this league, to put it together any given week, and we got to be ready.
And Tucson's always been an odd place. It's always been different kind of games down there. You've won a few, you've lost a few. They've always been a little different. Tucson's a different place to play.
It is, and it's a late kickoff, which neither here nor there. We're used to that. Should be about 55 at kick, so no big deal with the weather. But we just got to be ready.
You mentioned preparing for the two quarterbacks, Khalil Tate, who you've seen a number of times over the years. In fact, I think you guys recruited him, too, out of high school out of Southern California. I think he went to Gardena, at that high school that produces all those wide receivers and DBs that go to USC. He ends up going to Arizona, and, he's been up and down in his career, but boy, he almost looks like a linebacker playing quarterback, Kyle. He's got a gigantic arm. He can run like the wind, takes a lot of hits, but he's kind of ridden that up and down roller coaster this year, hasn't he?
He has, but he's a tremendous athlete, and that's something that is constant. He's, ever since he got there, he's been a weapon for him. In my opinion, certainly athletic enough to play at the next level, whether it's a quarterback or not. At that position, who knows? But I'm telling you, there's 3 other spots that he could play. He could be a secondary guy. He could be a wide receiver, probably a running back. I mean, the guy is ultra talented.
The other quarterback's a freshman.
Right.
And he's more of a pocket guy, strict thrower. Grant Grinnell, is that his name?
Yep, and he's not like the kid at Oregon as far as his stature. It looks a lot like when that kid was a freshman.
Justin Herbert,
yeah. And Travis Wilson, our guy. So we've seen those guys, like the Washington guy as well a couple weeks ago. So he's one of those big frame, real tall, well put together quarterbacks that likes to stay in the pocket, and he's played some good reps for him this year.
He'll probably be the guy you see moving forward with Arizona.
Next year, for sure.
That's what I mean. Next year for sure, or whenever.
If you have any inside info for this week, let me know.
In today's day and age, you never know. He may be gone next week too. Who knows? Before I let you go, and we bring in our first player interview, our first guy is going to be one of your offensive line leaders, Orlando Umana, junior center. Just give us an idea. He didn't come here as a center, although that's kind of the case with all centers anymore. Nobody's really ever a true center. They're guards that usually are tackles that get moved to center. But how has he been with his versatility on that offensive line for you? He's
been tremendous for us, and the center has a lot of responsibility identifying fronts, IDing the defense and the linebackers and that type of thing. And he has been very solid for us last couple of years. And he's reliable. He's tough. He's durable. And just a guy that works hard.
No, it's good to have a guy, too, that's comfortable in the position, knows the line calls, knows what Jim Harding wants, things like that. Every few years you got to replace that center, but it's nice to have him, and he'll be back again next year for you.
Right, exactly. He's got one more year.
So we'll have Orlando in coming up next. Just a reminder, our show tonight being brought to you by Pepsi and Code Red. All of our touchdowns this year are Code Red touchdowns. So grab a Pepsi and some friends and get in the game. Pepsi's a proud partner of Utah football and Utah athletics. Orlando Umana will join us next here on the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show from Learfield IMG College. Kyle Whittingham's office here at the Eccles football building. Coach is off having his clam chowder. We'll talk to him coming up in a little while. A couple of players will come by to talk to us. Max Toopi will be by in a bit. But now the man that calls out the plays on that offensive line, the man that snaps the ball back to Tyler Huntley, the center of that offensive line, Orlando Umana with us here. How are you?
Yes, sir. Doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. We'll get to the season here in a minute. I'm curious. I'm always curious when guys sit down on the couch and talk to me. You can grow up in Utah.
No.
You're a Northern California guy, Sacramento guy.
Born and raised.
Grant High School.
Yep.
So how do you go from Sacramento to Salt Lake City?
I just saw the family atmosphere over here. I'm a real family guy, so when I saw that over here, I was, all in. And, the day I committed, my mom was actually, mad. She cried, my heart hurts or something like that. And I was like, dang, now I'm going to come here. Now it just made her more mad.
Did she want you to stay closer to home?
Or, somewhere else, too, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She had another school in mind.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us who?
Washington.
Really?
Yeah, the Huskies.
Is she happy that you're here now, though?
Oh, yeah, she's happy now. She's always at the games.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, moms are that way. They kind of have those things in their mind, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to go where you got to feel comfortable and family-like.
Yep,
Did you know much about Utah before you came here?
No, I just knew, we had a few Grant guys come here. I went, played with Darren.
Yeah.
He was the left tackle, I was the right tackle. So
you guys have been knowing each other for quite some time then.
Yeah, yep.
Was he that big a force in high school too?
Oh yeah, he was that size in high school with the beard and everything.
Really?
Yep.
He was one of those guys.
Yep.
We all knew that guy in high school that was in 10th grade and he was already shaven.
No, for real.
That was Darren.
That was Darren.
So did that make it easier for you to come here? Because Darren's a year older than you.
Yeah.
So did that make it a little easier knowing him, and then you got to know some of the guys? Did Coach Harding recruit you?
Yeah. And Coach Puha.
Yeah.
And Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah, Puha.
So there was a little that sense of family here that made you feel good. And then once you got here, I'm sure you realized they've had a pretty good history of offensive line, right?
Oh yeah. I know. I think when I came in, 4 guys was leaving to the league. So that made it a lot better.
But you come in as a guard because nobody comes as a center. Coach Witt and I joke about that all the time. There's very few guys that come in as centers. You're usually a guard or a tackle, and they move you over.
Yeah.
Did you ever played much center before?
Nah.
Ever?
Not that I probably in flag football. I don't know.
So when they made I guess it was last year.
Yeah.
About midway 4 or 5 games in, when they needed you to move over, what was that like? Were you nervous about it? Were you a little?
Yeah.
So what was that transition like for you?
I think it was a Washington State game where Lowe got hurt.
Yeah.
And he looked at me. He was like, "You play center," and Nick come that guard. I was like, "No, I'm able to play guard." So he was like, "Oh, yep, Nick, go to center." But then after that, he was like, "The Stanford week."
Yeah.
He's like, "You're playing center," and I was like, "Oh, yep, just got to get ready."
And so how'd that go? How long did it take you maybe, Orlando, to feel comfortable? Couple of games?
No, after the first drive with Stanford, yeah.
Really?
Because it was just basically that first drive I was nervous, about the snap, about, just getting the ball to Snoop. And after that, it was, got easier.
So how is that? Because you've got to work with Tyler all the time.
Yeah. And
this year it's a little bit different because you guys are going more under center this year than you did the last couple of years. So how's that relationship with you and Snoop?
It's good. It took a while, but, throughout the fall camp, it got better.
What's the biggest adjustment moving from guard to center? Is it the snapping of the ball? Is it the line calls?
Yeah, I think it's the line calls. You got to call out the point, so everyone will be on the same page. So if one person's off, it's all bad.
So when we see you guys on the offensive line pointing across the way, is that all for real or is that for show? What's going on?
That's it's for real. That's so we all know we're on the same page and who's getting who.
All right.
Yep.
Very good. We're talking to Orlando Umana with us here on the program. What do you make of the new offense? Because the numbers have been, the production you guys have put up this year, the balance, there's more passing yards, sack numbers are way down. It would seem that this is a good fit. Do you like playing in Coach Ludd's offense?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like a, run mentality offense, pass when you want to, but yeah, that's what he really put on us. Yeah, just run the ball.
And linemen like that. Big physical guys like you guys. Some lines aren't built that way. But like Washington State's line's not a big overpower, but that's how you guys are built. And so you like running the ball, don't you?
Yes, sir. Got to. More fun.
Yeah, and it kind of gets you to exert your dominance, right?
That's how you control the line of scrimmage, show who's more physical.
opening those holes for Zach.
Yes, sir.
Protecting Tyler.
Got to.
Yeah, and it's funny. I talked to Coach Ludd last week. I do a weekly feature with he and Morgan Scally called Coordinator's Corner, and he said the two things we have to do the rest of the way, protect the football and protect the quarterback.
For real. Especially when he was hurt, we had to, we really strained about that, and
Is that something you guys talked about collectively as a group? Hey, Tyler's not 100%, but he's trying to go.
Oh, yeah.
We got to do the Washington game for sure.
Yeah, we try as much as possible, just blocking forever, basically.
So what's it like to be a member of the O Block? Because that's kind of a fraternity. Every it seems like every group on the team has their own kind of little fraternity within it.
Yeah.
And I see the pictures that are out there on Twitter and social media. You guys are out having a barbecue with Coach Hardings, or you're playing wiffle ball somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that a brotherhood in that room?
Oh yeah, for sure. We all take care of each other. We all play games after practice. Just hop on the same games and call each other if we want to go eat. Like, who's hungry?
Yeah.
We just all go out.
You guys are always hungry, aren't you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's got to be the way it is.
Yeah.
It'd be a bigger thing if you're like, who's not hungry right now?
Yeah, for real.
So this line's pretty good. Every day in practice, you get to go up against maybe the best defensive line in college football.
Yeah.
You're right in the middle. What's it like to line up, match up with John and Lecky?
You got to come with your A game basically every day for practice because, they're coming hard, coming 100. So, yeah, they just make us better every day.
Do they?
Yeah.
That's not just a cliche. Guys don't just say that. They really do make you guys better.
They make it easier for game days for sure. Going you could tell the difference, going against Lecky and John and then going against, other guys.
I was going to say, you're not going to face many guys across the way from you, if any, that are as good or better than those two dudes, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Breaking news. Orlando just told us Lecky and John are good. All right, so how do you guys keep the focus right now? Because there's a lot of noise out there. Utah's good. You're being ranked in the playoffs. You got a chance to win the South and go play Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. That's all noise on the outside that, can sometimes get in your head. But that doesn't seem to have been the case with you guys right now. So how do you kind of keep that noise out?
We just, Coach Wick tell us to treat every game like a championship game. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. Like every day practice, it starts from today. Starts from today. We beat those guys today in practice. So, yeah.
You were part of that team, and you started last year in that game where you guys were so close.
Yeah.
But you came up a little short.
Yeah.
Now, the guys that were thinking about the NFL called it unfinished business. Same thing for you? Is that something that motivates you, being so close but just missing last year?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we got to basically finish what we started. Or, yeah. Yep.
Looking forward to a chance to do it?
Yes, sir. Can't wait.
All right, very good. Orlando, good to see you, man.
Yep, thank you.
Orlando Umana with us here on the Coaches Show tonight. Take a quick time out. We'll come back on the other side. Max Toopi joins us next, right here from Learfield IMG College. Here on a Tuesday night from the Eccles Football Building. Don't forget, Saturday, be in Tucson, Arizona, 8 o'clock Mountain Time and Arizona time, start time for this game on Saturday night. Myself, Tom Hackett, and Scott Mitchell will have the pregame coverage beginning at 6 with an 8 o'clock kickoff as the Utes try to make it 7 in a row against the Arizona Wildcats. Joined here on the Coaches Show tonight, we went from the offensive side of the football to the defensive side of the football. Max Toopi with us here on the program tonight. How are you?
I'm good.
You hanging in there?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, good. You know what's funny? Max got the same look on his face that a year ago John Pennicini did. John sat down where you're sitting, and he was like, man, I'm nervous. I don't like doing these things. Max kind of said the same thing a minute ago. But a year later, John's Mr. Media now. He loves doing those interviews. So a year from now, Max, you're going to be an old pro at this.
I guess we'll see.
You think? So let me ask you. You played well last weekend. You had 4 tackles, a couple of TFLs. Was some of the chatter you heard coming out of UCLA, was that a motivator for you guys last week? They were talking about how physical and tough they were. Did you guys hear a little bit of that?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think we kind of just heard what they said, and Coach Scally motivated us by telling us what they said, and, you know, we kind of applied it to the game, and I think that's why we came out more physical.
Well, you guys are always a physical football team. That's the hallmark of Utah football. We know that. You're physical. It felt like last weekend all the defensive ends really played well. I mentioned your numbers. Mika was all over the place, and he had the scoop and score. Yeah. Bradley had a couple of sacks. I'd just be curious, are you guys competitive? I mean, the three of you guys, the guys playing defensive end, are you guys pretty competitive with one another?
Very. Yes, I would say we were. We are, actually. Sorry.
So what's that like in those defensive end meetings and when you guys are kind of looking at each other? Obviously, Bradley's the old man because he's been around here the longest.
Yes. I don't know how to say it. But yeah, I guess we're just really competitive. Don't really know how to explain it.
Competitive in a good way, though?
Yeah,
like supportive,
sure.
Competitive. Like you want to outdo each other, but you're happy when the other guy gets a sack or a tackle or a TFL or something.
For sure, yeah.
So what was when you watched Mika scoop that ball up and start taking off running the other way the other day? What was going through your mind?
Oh, I was so happy for him, but I was jealous. I was like, oh, shoot, that should have been me. But
I can't remember. Were you on the field on that play or were you on the sideline?
I was not.
Okay. So you had a good view of it.
Oh, yeah.
As he's running the other way.
Yeah, it was cool.
And then Julian caught up with him.
Yeah, it started pushing. I thought Julian was going to trip him.
I think he was just there as security to make sure he wasn't going to go anywhere.
For sure.
So let's go back to 2015 for a minute. You're at Murray High School. You're being recruited by lots of people. You had your choice of going a lot of different places, but you chose to stay kind of home and play here where there's a great defensive line tradition, but we've seen guys recent years decide to go other places. Why was Utah the right place for you, Max?
I would say because, like, as a unit, just they're close. They're a family. Like, Utah's always been really tight from what I've heard, and when I came here, I noticed that, and I liked it. So I kind of wanted to be part of this big family that everybody talked about, and, you know, coming here was honestly probably my best decision.
Yeah, and you know, they have that thing they call hometown heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're in high school, you don't think about that because you're just trying to figure out where you want to go. But you've now been here a couple of years, and you're playing with this team, and this defense is off the charts good, and your family and friends can come to Rice Eccles and watch you play. Does it mean a little bit more now, that decision to stay here? Does it mean a little bit more?
Yes, most definitely, because the people I know, the people I grew up with, especially my family, can make it out to the games.
That's great. When you first got here, was there somebody that mentored you a little bit? Was there somebody that was maybe an upperclassman that was in the program, or somebody you kind of kept your eye on and said, okay, I'll watch this guy and see how he does it?
The entire D-line when I was here, yes.
Tackles, ends, everybody.
Yeah. I thought they were honestly like a good example. They helped us be a part of the team, you know. We have a saying, you know, become the team, don't, like, be your own. I don't really – I'm sorry. Like,
no, you're fine.
Yeah, so it's just becoming about the team. It's all about the team. And with them, they definitely helped me become part of the team.
It really feels like, and I was talking about this with Orlando, who was in here a minute ago, the offensive line, they're a really tight unit, the O-block. But you guys are kind of the same way, too. There's that pride. Then you got the guys on the back end, the safeties, safety pride, and the running backs, the wide receiver, the tight ends. Everybody kind of has their fraternity within the team itself. Yes. But what does it mean? Because there have been so many good defensive linemen here. Guys like Star Lotulele, Lolo Tulele, who was here when you were a younger guy. Flip Mokafisi, his pops, who was here before that. There's a real history about that. There's got to be some pride in playing that position, right?
Most definitely. We just come out, and I'd say the pride is being physical, being the best, and not only in the Pac-12 but in the country. We kind of like to keep that real tight, and yeah, you guys have been really good this year about keeping focus, especially after the SC game. I know the SC game was one of those things that brought you guys all back into focus again. You've won 6 in a row since then. I'm just curious. You see the numbers. You can watch and see. You guys are not just good in the Pac-12. You guys are elite, your unit, defensively nationwide. Is there a little extra point of pride knowing we're not just the best unit in the country or in the conference, we're one of the best units in the country right now? Does that mean anything? It definitely does, but what we're told is we got to block out the noise.
Yeah.
We kind of just got to keep our head down and keep working, just focus on ourselves and, continue to work. So we take pride, but at the same time, we got to humble ourselves.
Yep, next step is Arizona this weekend. You had a good game last year, one of your best games. 9 tackles, a PBU last year. You don't know who's going to be playing quarterback, though. Is it going to be that big linebacker character that looks like a quarterback named Khalil Tate, or is it going to be the other kid? So how do you prepare for 2 quarterbacks?
I think that's something you'll have to talk to Coach Witt or Coach Scally about. Yeah, everything goes into preparation, obviously, but, they got the game plan set up for us, and we just follow and do what we're told.
When you play a mobile quarterback, though, like last week, Thompson Robinson was very mobile, smaller but mobile. Khalil Tate's bigger and mobile. Does that mean you have to be a little bit more alert out there, especially you out on the edge, where those quarterbacks like to get outside a little bit?
Yeah, I would say that we definitely have to be more aware of where the quarterback is, what he can do, and, just kind of adjust to how he plays in the game, and pretty much that's it.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming by tonight.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Was that easy?
Yeah.
See, look at him. He's not nervous. See, Coach Witt even knows you're doing good. Sit down. You can't leave yet. We're going to break. As we go to break, we'll tell you Kyle Whittingham's on the other side. This is the Coach's Show from Learfield, IMG College. Tuesday night from the Eccles Football Building. Good to have you with us. Streaming in tonight on Twitch and on the Utah Athletics YouTube channel. You can watch us there every week. And if you ever happen to miss the show on audio or on video, they're both archived. You can go to our ESPN700sports.com flagship radio station website to listen to the show back, or go onto the YouTube Athletics YouTube page and watch it back yourself if you want to see our lovely mugs on camera. Kyle Whittingham's here with us as we talk a little Utah football. Before we get into Arizona, I just had Max sitting here. And I thought he played a terrific game. He had 4 tackles, a couple of TFLs. He played great last. He looks like he's starting to really begin to get into it. You know, Bradley's always there. Mika got it a little bit earlier this year, but Max is starting to make some plays too.
He is, and he made a lot of plays for us last year as well, and he's a really good Pac-12 player, and got another year, and him and Mika will be the two mainstays next year. But he's a great teammate, just like a bunch of the guys we got, and hometown hero, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Murray High School. Who else? I mean, obviously Bradley's going to be playing on Sundays next year. You've got Mika and Max, but who are a couple of the young, guys that are coming up in that defensive end spot that will be kind of in that rotation next year?
Well, Miki Sugataranga is a guy that we have high expectations of. He's redshirting this year. He'll stay under that 4-game limit. He's been in 1 game so far this year. Blake Keithy, we hope to get him healthy. Brant's brother, his twin brother that is every bit as good a football player as Brant, and he just hasn't been able to get on the field since he's been here. It's been one thing after another, but we're hoping, knock on wood, that he's able to join the team in January as far as a full-time participator and have a good spring and see what he can do. And that'll be a point of emphasis for recruiting this year, is the defensive end spot. We're going to take 3 or 4 in this year's class.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
And I know there's some guys out there that would love to come in and play in this defense especially. You mentioned Keithy. The athleticism was on display the other night. Which move did you like better, the hurdle or the spin move?
I think the spin move.
Because it went for the touchdown?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of become a thing now, by the way, in football in general, college and pro football. Everybody's trying to hurdle people now.
I don't quite understand that, but you watch, they'll make it illegal at some point.
Didn't your eyes back in the day used to light up as a linebacker when somebody tried to lead their feet and jump in the air?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, Brant was really good. So hopefully we'll see his brother out there soon. All right, let's talk a little bit about this Arizona offense. You mentioned you're preparing for 2 quarterbacks. Does the offense change much? I mean, there's a little bit more run game with Khalil Tate, but both quarterbacks will throw it down the field, won't they?
Sure, yeah. Khalil's very capable of throwing the football and throws a really pretty deep ball.
He's got a big arm.
He's got a big arm, is right. And we just got to be ready for both. But, yeah, there is a much heavier dose of run game when Khalil's in there.
Yeah, J.J. Taylor was the guy that you mentioned too, and I know your first thing is always stop the run. He's such a good tailback, not real big, about 5'8", but he feels like he's one of those guys. Every team has one of these guys every few years that he's been there. He feels like he's been at Arizona forever.
And he's just a junior.
And he is just a junior, and probably because he's so very, very good.
Right.
What is it about his game that you like so much?
It's just his toughness. He's just a tough kid and slams it up in there. He's fearless. And like I said earlier, he runs much bigger than his stature. I mean, he runs like a 210-pound plus guy, and really can, he's the hammer. Very, most of the time, not the nail. I mean, he'll deliver the blow. He's a very physical kid.
He's a guy that reminds me a little bit of John White. When you had John White in this program,
similarities there.
You guys led with the run. When they lead with the run there, and for a guy that's not real big, he can take a lot of punishment and carry the ball quite a bit too. He's had some 25, 30, and 30-plus yard carry games in his career.
He has, and him and the Benjamin kid at Arizona State are cut from the same cloth. Very violent, physical runners that can handle a big workload.
You mentioned defense. Marcel Yates was let go a few weeks ago, and so they've got a new defensive coordinator. You mentioned they're not doing much differently because you get some tweaks here and there. But as you look at them and you kind of game plan, what's the strength? Is it the back end for them? Is their secondary the strength? The backers? Where would you go?
They got the one tremendous backer, Schooler. Yeah, he's a guy that's all over the place and makes a ton of tackles, and so he's probably the guy that they build things around. But you're right. When we talked earlier, you can't. Chuck Cecil is the new defensive coordinator. He was I believe it's an analyst and got moved into that. I don't think he was on the coaching staff. the accountable coaches. But anyway, there's only so much you can do in that situation, and he was a great player and a smart guy, and so I don't know what the long-term fix is. That's not our, that's not none of our business. But he's the guy now calling the shots, and you really can't wholesale change like we talked. You got to stay pretty much within the framework of what you've been doing for the most part.
They've got some guys on the back end, some safeties and corners that have made some plays against some interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Burns is one of those guys on the back end. You mentioned Schooler. He's a lot like Scooby Wright was a few years ago. One of those guys that just makes a million tackles and plays, and he's always in on things.
Right, yep. Tough kid that's got good instincts and very productive. Like you said, he's always around the football.
So we'll take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with Kyle. We'll talk a little bit about some of the honors that Utah football has been rolling in with, namely Senior Bowl honors that all came rolling in last week. There's going to be a Salt Lake City takeover in Mobile come January. We'll get some game keys and how do you keep that focus on the prize ahead. All that coming up in the final segment of the Coaches Show right here from Learfield IMG College. Congratulations to you, Grandpa. Once again, congratulations.
Yeah, number 4 came 5 o'clock this morning. Another grandson, and so that makes 3 boys and a girl. So it's all good.
How's Mama and Tyler doing?
Doing great. Should be coming home tomorrow, and his first son Cooper. It'll be interesting to see how he handles that.
We got some Whittingham birthdays in this week, huh?
Yeah, I don't know whose, but
we've got at least one birthday we know of this week. It
steer
came
clear of
this
that.
morning. There we go.
Yeah.
You guys got a lot of good news last week. The Senior Bowl, which is the most prestigious of the postseason college football kind of bowls, and the one the pro scouts really flocked to in Mobile, Alabama. Invited not one, not two, not three, but 6 Utah football players. 5 on the defensive side of the football. Anai, Fotu, Blackman, Burgess, and Bernard, and then Zach Moss went as well.
Exactly, and don't be surprised if there's not 2 or 3 more before it's all said and done.
That's really a feather in the cap for
It
those
is.
kids
It
and
is.
where they've come this year for you.
It sure is, and it's a tribute to their hard work and their development while they've been in this program, and to their coaches, Coach Scally and the defensive staff, and of course, offensive coaches as well, and it's just great to see, because if you go to the Senior Bowl, your chances of getting drafted are really high, and so that means that the scouts are really high on you, and it's a great opportunity for those guys.
Really happy for Terrell Burgess, because this is a guy that this is his first year as a starter. I mean, he was kind of a backup, played a lot of different positions for you, and I said this to him the other day. I said I was really happy for him because I don't know that anybody has taken greater advantage of the opportunity this year given to him than a guy like Terrell Burgess. He's done such a good job with it.
I agree 100%. And another one of those completely selfless guys the first 3 years here, and just did whatever we asked him to do. Special teams duty, was a backup role for 2 or 3 spots last year in the secondary safeties, nickel spot, and now it's his time to shine, and he has made the most of it. We wish we're kind of kicking ourselves we didn't redshirt him. His first year here, he was really good when he first got here, so we put him on all the special teams, and he was a contributor. So it would have been nice to have had that luxury and have him one more year, but good for him. He's getting his degree right now. He'll be done in December, and a chance to play in the National Football League.
Kudos and congratulations to those guys. We'll see you Saturday in Tucson.
Okay, Billy, sounds good.
That's
Thanks.
head coach Kyle Whittingham here on the Coaches Show tonight. We'll see you 6 o'clock with the pregame, 8 o'clock kickoff from Tucson. This is Utah football from Learfield, IMG College.